Facebook making changes to its trending topics after pushback from those lawmakers. This despite saying they found no evidence of political bias against conservative topics in an internal investigation. Joining us this morning is Rob Bluey, who met with Mark Zuckerberg last week. He's the editor-in-chief of the Daily Signal, vice president of publishing at the Heritage Foundation. Rob, it's good to have you. Good morning.
Thank you.
They say they found nothing systemic. Do you believe them?
I do believe that the investigation probably didn't find anything systemic. I think that they also acknowledged that there could have been individual actors who perhaps had their own individual biases that may have excluded some conservative news. So the steps that they're taking seem to be prudent and well received on the part of conservatives.
Walk me through an example where at least you believe some of your own content was manipulated, I'll say.
Well, I don't have a specific example with regard to the Daily Signal, but among the examples that Facebook itself included in a letter to Senator Thune was CPAC. The head of CPAC, Matt Schlapp, has been critical of Facebook and did not attend last week's meeting because he believes that Facebook hasn't been sincere in coming forward. CPAC did not show up, for instance, on the first day of the conference this year, and Facebook said, well, the reason that CPAC did not show up wasn't a case of bias. It was simply a case of other Republican candidates being in the news because it followed Super Tuesday. So Facebook seems to have a reason or a rationale every time that somebody comes forward with a case of bias. And I think that, we just have to keep pressing for transparency on the part of conservatives, because that's ultimately what we're hoping that Facebook will do out of this situation.
Rob, can you give us a little more color on what that meeting was like with Mark Zuckerberg inside last week, how the company portrayed itself? It seems like the reaction from various personalities has been somewhat mixed.
Yeah, definitely a mixed reaction. Conservatives walked out of the meeting, I think some of us hopeful that this would be the start of a more productive relationship where Facebook would be more transparent about how it operates. Obviously, a lot of the conservative publishers, just like CNBC, rely on Facebook to news and information, and when we see unusual patterns of engagement or traffic, it causes some concern and raises questions about whether Facebook is being fair. Zuckerberg was very personable. He was very much listening to, I think, the questions and concerns that were raised, and I think the result of this investigation is Facebook is now going to do away with some of the lists that were dominated by some more liberal-leaning news sites, and as a result, hopefully we'll get a more accurate representation in the trending topics going forward.
Yeah, I just wanted to pick up that point, Rob, with abandoning the benchmarking to those sites, which obviously you would regard as liberal. I think a lot of people would debate whether they're liberal or not. What does that mean moving forward for the industry as a whole, if that type of judgment is being made now by Facebook, or at least if they're letting them go to kind of float on their own?
Yes, well, so this was actually a point that I raised in the meeting specifically because I felt that even some of the people who were represented in the meeting, their websites weren't included on those lists that Facebook was looking at. What Facebook told me in response was that they wanted to move into a situation where it was an algorithm or a computer, more artificial intelligence determining what those topics would be, so you could eliminate human interaction and eliminate the potential for any person to have a biased point of view and exclude topics. So what hopefully what it means is that we'll be moving to a more algorithmic process in which Facebook determines these things, and it'll take the factor of human error or human judgment out of the equation.
Finally, Rob, I wonder if you think this empowers conservatives or liberals, anyone who creates political content, to target various platforms, go for change, and if so, on which platforms do you think might be in the crosshairs?
Well, it certainly does. I mean, I think the fact that Facebook has responded so aggressively, both calling the meeting last week and then quickly wrapping up this investigation and getting back to the Republican chairman of the Commerce Committee, demonstrates that they do. And you're going to probably see the same pressure applied to places like Google and Twitter if conservatives feel that they are being, the content there is being suppressed, as they did in the case of Facebook. Let's keep in mind that this was not just an isolated incident with Facebook. The Gizmodo story, which made these allegations, was kind of the end of the road. Facebook had long been perceived as being a liberal organization by conservatives who had their pages banned or had seen changes in the news feed that they didn't like, and this brought it to a head.
It's been remarkable to watch their response. We'll see if it happens other places. Rob, thank you so much. Rob Bluey joining us from the Daily Signal and the Heritage.